test. WRBI Batesville, Greensburg, Versailles, Brookville now presents Southeastern Indiana's longest running and most listened to sports show. It's Coach's Corner, broadcasting live from the Coach Raver Corner at Ison's Family Pizza. Listen on 103.9 FM or the WRBI app. And now you can watch the show happen live too at WRBI-TV.com or on our Facebook page. Here is the host of Coach's Corner, Coach Rob LaFerry.
And welcome to Coach's Corner on this Monday night, delivered by Ison's Family Pizza. Once again, inside the friendly confines of the historic Ron Raver Corner. Rob LaFerry with you again this evening. We have got a lot of football to talk tonight. We have got Batesville, North Decatur, Franklin County coming up later this evening as well, and some Batesville boys tennis in between. So we'll go ahead and get things started tonight. And Batesville head football coach Evan Ulrey joining us to kick things off on this Monday in October. Bulldogs coming in, coach, 3-4 last week, 31-30 loss in overtime at Greensburg. Let's first talk about the game itself. I felt on both sides opportunities were had. There was moments where maybe both teams could have stretched things out a little bit. Ultimately, it comes down who can make that final stop.
Yeah, the final stop, and, it's tough. I'm trying not to dwell on that, and I think it was a missed call on my end, putting us in the best position on the 2-point conversion. But like I said to our guys, I will not fault their heart and their dedication on that Friday night. And I think our guys played well. We had some guys make their first varsity starts, some guys step in different roles, and I thought they made some mistakes. They had to kind of get their feet wet, and they know, like we, and some things we coached up and communicated with. But yeah, there was just some opportunities, like a few opportunities to get a stop, or maybe put some points on the board. You look in the first half, Rob, it's like we had the ball 3 times, and we scored a touchdown. That first quarter went by fast, and and then we got a field goal, and then retook the lead with the field goal, and then they had a long drive, and it just felt like you couldn't get off the field. And that was the drive probably that was, of all the series that on defense, that was probably the most frustrating, because it just felt like, man, they found something and then go back, and we had to kind of adjust or just kind of coach our guys up a little bit on that. And they put together a really, really long drive that ate up a lot of clock. And then we didn't have a lot. But Dylan Shane did a really good job of getting us down the field. I think kind of nickel and diming down the field. And unfortunately, we had a holding penalty, I think, right before half that kind of pushed us out of Wanell's field goal range. But, you look at it and you're like, we had the ball twice, scored 2 out of the 3 times, was right there. We just kind of ran out of time. We gave up a big touchdown play. We talked to our guys. They saw it, and I thought we adjusted at half. We communicated, and guys came out and played really hard in the second half. I thought we played more sound. Obviously offensively, we were able to put some drives together. We responded with some adversity. The only big issue, we gave up a block punt, which gave a really short field. Unfortunately, then give up a touchdown run. And again, it was, guys at the point, and just unfortunately, things happen. But I don't fault the kids, and I don't fault their effort and their heart, but like I said, just some missed opportunities that to kind of, like you said, stretch things out or give yourself an opportunity to maybe get the game closed out in regulation. But obviously we know how the game ended, and it didn't. I felt for our guys because they poured a lot out, and it was tough, to see. It was kind of like a movie script, but on the bad side of it, as you're watching it. And but I'm not going to say anything negative about our guys, because they fought their tails off and played really hard.
I think you take, you take a look at, kind of that movie script you talk about. I think I even made mention of it during the broadcast. It was such a jubilation on one side, on the Greensburg side, and you could just tell how bad that one hurt on your guys' side. You could just see the pain. It's a lengthy post-game speech with you guys. We're not going to go over what got said, but there is a message of disappointment in the loss, but also a message of this is another chance for us to bounce.
I think in that point, I think our guys, I hope both from what was said Friday, Saturday, and as I continue, is that they know that I love them. And I'm not disappointed in what those guys last Friday, the guys on the field, and the effort that they put and the dedication that they put. I'm not disappointed in that. And there are some things that lead up, and maybe some things that we all collectively have to be better at. But I'm not going to throw our kids I'm not going to blame our kids. I'm not going to throw our kids under the bus by any stretch, and I'm not going to sit and say that make any excuses. It's just that we had some guys that had to step up, and I thought they still played really well, and we had some adverse moments. But like I told them, I said, man, I looked around at each of them. I mean, that the guys that really, and they were in a crossfire. I mean, to think that certain guys that were asked to do certain things, and I was proud of just how they took the challenge. And but like I told him, I said, hey, it's been very good recently, and now obviously we're in a tough stretch, but we got a choice, and we're gonna pick ourselves up. I'm gonna pick myself up, and we're gonna help pick each other up, and we're gonna get back to work, and we're gonna continue doing this. I think our guys that are all locked in and are doing this for one another, we'll get through it. We will weather through this, and I like I said, I trust our staff. I trust our kids in doing just that. I don't know how to say it. It sucks to lose. It sucks, to lose in that moment. But it's just a night. It's just a game. It's one night. It's not going to define the program. It's not going to define these kids. It's not going to define me or our staff or anything like that.
Talked about a couple kids to put a positive spin on Friday night. You mentioned Dylan Shane already, and I thought there was some really good out of him on Friday. There's another Dylan out there I thought that played extremely well. I thought Dylan Comer came in. There's one of those kids who had to step up on Friday night. He really does deliver for you in the backfield.
He does, and so two parts to that. Dylan Shane obviously brings a moxie and a piece to the team that I admire, and I tell him I appreciate the way he competes and gets after it. So it was good to see him back out there, just simply for the sake that he's a kid and he's put a lot of work in to be able to get back out on the field and play. You don't get many opportunities to do that, so I was happy to see Dylan back out there, and I thought Dylan played really well. Dylan Comer, man, it was kind of a, I don't want to say storybook, but even for him, like Dylan has really grown. And you're a teacher and I'm a teacher, and it's like, man, that's why you do it. You see a kid that, has had his ups and downs for sure, and was kind of at a crossroads, and he's a senior, and man, he took a challenge. It resonated. And the last few months, man, he has been beyond not just a hard worker, but a great teammate. And there was no, just because, but I don't know if you know, he was a captain. Mm-hmm. That night was the honorary captain of the week because of how he, whom he is as a teammate. And I told him, I said, and if I was to put a bet, I wouldn't have necessarily thought that was the case with what it is, but that's the thing is with Dylan and with kids in general, you just try, to just continue to pour in, and hopefully that it's not about football though, Rob, right? Mm-hmm. It's that I feel like Dylan is, he's got a great soul, great heart. I've never been more impressed with a kid just with other kids. And I've always known it's there, and to see him click and play really well on Friday night, man, it was emotional to see. I'm trying not to get too emotional, but it's like it was great to see. Great to see a kid do just that. And I think he's off. He's to bigger things. Obviously, he's a senior. Not much more, left in football, but man, I'm telling you, he's taking the right tracks forward as a young man.
Going kind of along the same line, Coach, of talking about kind of this message of that this is high school football. These are high school kids. Ethan Schneider. That was Friday. We spent a good chunk of halftime pouring out Ethan's story. Because in the grand scheme of everything, Friday night, whether you're a winner on the scoreboard or taking the loss on the scoreboard, there was a much bigger positive that shows that this is more about life than it is football for Ethan Schneider.
Yeah, I mean, Lisa and PJ are great parents, great people, and I just I love Ethan. I love got to know Carson and love Carson, and you never wish anything, and he's battled, and that family's had to battle, and for him to, you guys shared the story, and you just see a kid do that and doing what he's doing, and community get behind him, right, and I think he's played really well this year. I think he's and just a great young man that he's beyond a good good football player and a good basketball player. I mean, he's just a great kid that just does things the right way consistently, and just has a smile. Man, a few words, but man, he's got a great smile, and and it was great to hear the news Thursday, and I mean, you just sometimes I'm just as guilty of getting so locked in and, football and the job and the competitiveness and the day-to-day and the grind of all of it. But in the end of the day, it's a game.
Yep.
And it's well beyond, like I said, going back to the story of Ethan Schneider and to see the success of it, Dylan Comer, I say this, I get more joy out of talking to a former player, and I've got 5 now on my staff, of just seeing them as young men and to see them grow and to see the stories that they kind of share. It's like that stuff, man, that lasts a lot longer. A Friday night lasts a Friday night, and the game and all that stuff. It's everything that builds into that, which a lot of it's beyond football, and just grateful that I've had the opportunity to do this. Going back to my now near 20 years of coaching football, at 3 different schools, and whether it's here or when I was up in the Muncie area, and I've ran into kids, and I'll be honest, Rob. I mean, I go on a Friday, and we were at Greensburg this past Friday, and I got a couple former players over there, and to see them doing well, and then. Just I love it, and people see it as it's this game, but man, it's like I just love to see that kid's doing well, and he's off doing it, and he's coaching, and he's making an impact, and he comes up and gives me a hug or this or that. It's like that's why you do it. You do it for that relationship, and just hopefully you try to make as much of an impact as you can, and and I'm not saying I've done the best job, but it's what you try to do, and but yeah, so. It's definitely beyond football, but happy for Ethan. Going back to that, happy for Ethan and for the Schneider family.
Talking with Batesville head football coach Evan Ulrey, and now putting some focus on this upcoming Friday, another Friday to live through, Coach. You're back at home. This is going to be, though, a very tough matchup against a 5-2 Franklin County team. They beat South Dearborn 28-10. A week ago. I know we're going to talk to Coach Gilman later, but I think even he has been a little surprised by some of the success that they have had. This was a group that lost a huge senior class, much like you guys, but they have found some rhythm and they've navigated through a few things, and that's a really good Wildcat team.
Wes has done a great job. They lost a great class themselves, and they have some pieces back, just kind of like how we did. And I think they've weathered the storm, and they've kind of had a little 2-week stretch like us. And I know they've dealt with some injuries, which definitely has made an impact, I think, for them. But I think they've been able, to continue to find ways, right? And so a lot of respect for just how they've gone about it, how their kids play. Their kids play hard. You can see it. They get after it and fly around. And they have been a great, I guess, maybe a great story. I guess not trying to say that. I'm not saying I guess. I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, I don't know what their expectations were, but no, they are a solid football team. With some good athletes that we've been saying their names for a while, and they can make an impact. And they've had to kind of shuffle some things around to kind of work through some injuries. They found ways to win. We said that going the Greensburg game, and I think that they didn't play their best against Greensburg, and it was kind of like a touchdown game for the longest time. And I think they found a way to kind of get a couple scores and kind of get out of there with a win, right? And last week, I think it's kind of thing they're doing. They're solid, I think, pretty on the defensive side of the football, and I think offensively they're just trying to find that rhythm and find enough offense, which they've got enough guys to do just that. That's kind of the piece right now. It's like, man, they do have some weapons. Their offense line gets off the football, and we're going to have to be aggressive. We're going to have to get after and play aggressive and pick ourselves up. It's been a rough few weeks, all right? And but you can either, dwell on it and it could spiral, or let's pick each other up, let's pick it up. Like we're all gonna have moments where we're gonna fail, Rob, right? And it's not about that we fail; it's about getting up. And I think we got guys in that locker room that's what they're gonna do. We have a staff that's kind of how we embody it, and we're gonna continue to go forward and get after it on Friday against a really good team.
All right, Coach, we'll go ahead and let you go for tonight. We'll preview more of Franklin County coming up on Friday. Tom and I will be there. Appreciate you, as always, being on, and best luck against Franklin County this weekend.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Batesville head football coach Evan Ulrey joining us. We'll step aside, take a break, talk Batesville tennis. When we return, it's Coach's Corner, delivered by Ison's Family Pizza on Country 103.9 WRBI.
Simmer and sear with confidence using a Maytag freestanding electric range with 5 elements, including a 9-inch and 6-inch dual choice element, variable broil, and warming center. You can knock out mealtime in no time. The steam clean cycle and fingerprint resistant stainless steel finish makes it easy to keep clean inside and out. Shop Garings today. Garings and Maytag, 316 North Main, Batesville.
When you schedule an annual wellness visit with your Decatur County Memorial Hospital primary care provider, you can receive the most up-to-date report on the status of your health. Your family medicine provider's care is a fundamental to staying well and catching problems early. Routine preventative care can help save your life. Schedule an appointment with your DCMA's provider today.
Back to more Coach's Corner with Rob LaFerry, delivered by Ison's Family Pizza on 103.9 FM. Streaming audio on the WRBI app and with video on our Facebook page and at WRBI-TV.com.
And we're back at the Raver Corner inside Ison's Family Pizza for Coach's Corner, our first October episode. Just got done talking Batesville football with head coach Evan Ulrey. The Bulldogs are at home this Friday night to take on Franklin County. We will have that game for you with a 6:40 pregame and a 7 o'clock kickoff. Let's now turn our attention to Batesville boys tennis. You got a chance to hear from head coach Mitchell Taylor a couple weeks ago, and bringing them back on tonight because a lot of success for Batesville tennis this past week. A 7th straight sectional championship on Saturday. They defeat East Central by a 5-0 score. Coach, congratulations. And no matter how many you win in a row, it takes a lot of effort, and it's still a rewarding sectional championship.
Oh, without a doubt. And first, thanks for having me on again.
Yep.
It's always great to be on and just talk about the boys tennis team. So that was one thing we emphasized all week. There's a lot of lag time between our last match of the year and our first sectional match, and guys kind of get restless and they get tired of practicing and they just want to go out there and play. And that's one of the things we really focused on, is like just not taking it for granted and what a sectional championship means. Even though it's something they've done before, it's really easy to just go out there and maybe assume the other team's going to hand it to you. And we really emphasize that will never happen. And I really felt like our guys, took that in and really went in with the right mentality going into sectional week, and they got it done.
Let's talk about how you guys opened things up. You guys got to buy the semifinal round, so there's that little extra layover even more for your guys. But you faced Lawrenceburg in the semis, a 4-1 win over the Tigers. Did you see rust on Thursday in that semifinal, or it seemed like for the most part your guys came out with a bit of a purpose against Lawrenceburg?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the openings, and it's like any other sport, when they get out there, everyone puts a little extra meaning into, this is a sectional match or sectional game. There's always some nerves that everybody has to kind of work through, and guys do that in different ways. But I think for the most part, we did what we needed to do. At different positions, we definitely saw some things like we needed to improve on going into Saturday against East Central. But I want to give credit to Lawrenceburg's one, Ollie Savafian. Really tough player. He's someone who came in as a high school kid. I don't think he really played tennis until he was in high school, and then he's turned himself into a really good player, and he gets to advance individually. And then I also want to give some kudos to my one, Caleb Moore, because he lost a tough match on Thursday night. And he's the type of kid, he plays with a lot of passion, and he wears his heart on his sleeve, and you could tell he was not happy with the end result of that match. And, I kind of called him out in practice the next day and said, hey, we still need you to win matches for us to achieve the things that we want to do. And I felt like he responded really well Saturday.
He responded very well. I thought, looking at what you had sent me over the weekend with the box scores from your matches, that, your guys decided to be in that driver's seat from the get-go. Some really impressive scores at singles. But I thought those two doubles matches, you guys performed extremely well against East Central.
Oh, yeah. And I really did think that, East Central's doubles opponents, and nothing against Lawrenceburg, but they're just more formidable. They have more experience, and I really felt like our guys came in after Thursday much more locked in on Saturday from the start. Didn't have as slow of a start with some of those nerves that might have been settling in Thursday, and I really felt like they were ready to go.
Talk about with your roster, and we had mentioned a couple weeks ago that you've got a very experienced roster. You've got a good senior class. I think I'll kind of put this in a twofold. Number one, experience certainly does help in the postseason. I mean, this is really nothing new for, I even look at a guy like Carson Meyer, last year's a freshman, there's a whole year of growth there and knowing what to expect. So I think, number one, that's a big payoff for you guys.
Oh, without a doubt. And that was something that was a strength of ours. We knew coming into the year. We have so much experience, so many guys with at least one, maybe even 2 years of varsity experience. And, looking at a Carson Meyer, he competes in that way in other sports too. He's competed at a high level in many different sports. Jevin Smith, he was someone as a freshman who was in the final third set of a 2-2 match against East Central, and he came through in the clutch to help us win at two doubles. That's something that I think has helped him grow now as a junior. Just looking back, getting that experience and finding a way to win, and just how much more comfortable and relaxed guys are once they've been there and done that. And moving forward, how much of an advantage that could be.
I think the second part of the fold for me, and just going through what you had sent me, doing a couple other things, 15 sectional championships in the last 16 years, 32 in the last 34 total sectionals in boys tennis program history. Whether it's been as a student athlete yourself, as a coach, you've been a part of the success. And I think eventually, I know as cliche as it says, tradition never graduates. Mm-hmm. The program has been a walking example of the motto. And I think eventually, just being bred in that championship success, it's instilled in you. And these kids, whether they're a senior or a sophomore, they've seen it, they know how to live it and how to play it.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I mean, it all starts with Coach Jack Froman, he's the guy who built this program. You know, I simply adopted it. That's it. I stepped in. I was in his program. Coach McKinney did the same thing. He stepped in, did a great job for, you know, around 10 years. And then, you know, he handed the keys off to me, and I've only done what I've been taught. And those guys were both great coaches. And I'm just really, I'm honored, but I'm also incredibly lucky just to be in the position I am as a coach at Batesville boys tennis. So.
And I think, you know, and with you being able to speak on being a alum of Batesville, you know, I know even from me on the outside, being a South Ripley guy growing up, you saw Batesville and you see the success. You got to see it, you got to live it, and, you know, I think there's some meaning to being an alum from Batesville and being able to bring that success and that tradition and continue it now in your role as a coach rather than back when you're a student athlete.
Oh, without a doubt. Batesville's always been a community to me. You know, when I needed support in my own life as a high school kid, going through other things off the court, off the field, whatever, the community supported me. And, you know, and I found my, you know, the things that drove me. I found the people who supported me. I felt like I had a purpose, and that's why I got into teaching. That's why I wanted to become a coach. And I mean, Batesville's truly a special place. It's something that Coach Garrett always said to me. And, you know, you don't really realize it when you're a kid, but then as you grow up, you start to see the bigger picture. And he's always so right about that.
Well, we have to say he's right. We have to say he's right. Coach, let's talk about the regional. We're talking Batesville boys tennis with head coach Mitchell Taylor. You've got a regional semifinal coming up tomorrow. You are at Columbus North. You guys are going to face off against Seymour. The other semifinal, the host Columbus North against Southwestern Hanover. Typically a very tough regional field, some familiarity because you see a couple of these teams in the regular season, but it's a brand new setting, you know, for the program, and being at this stage of the tournament, it's just extremely competitive tennis.
Oh yeah, I would say, you know, Columbus North is someone who's dominated this regional in recent history, but you know, they've taken a step down this year. They lost a lot of talent. They're a pretty young team overall, and we played them earlier this year. We played them close, so. You know, having that experience, I think it gave our guys a lot of confidence. Even though it was a loss, we learned a lot about ourselves and where we can be and where we want to be at the end of the year. And now it's regional week. We've won a sectional. We have an opportunity in front of us, and we know Seymour's going to be a really good opponent. It's hard to scout in tennis. It's hard to really know the little things, but based on common opponents and where we rank, I mean, as far as I know, we might be the exact same teams. That's what it looks like. We got to find a way to get 3 points, 3 different matches. And I've told the guys it's going to be close. It's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. And so we just got to focus on what's in front of us, and hopefully we can take advantage of the opportunity.
Getting ready for tennis, you know, you've made mention it's a little bit more difficult to scout and prep. There's no game film to be watching. You're not, you know, hovering over game notes and a scout plan and things like that, which you would do in basketball season. Right. But what do you guys do? You've had since Saturday. You come in, you have just one practice before you go and play. What is tonight's focus? I'm sure the rain wasn't the biggest helper tonight, but you know, what do you do on a night before to get ready for this setting?
Right. No, I mean, we hardly had a practice tonight. We got out there for about 15 minutes and got rained on. So, you know, we talk about the mental side of the sport. I mean, at this point, I've really tried to emphasize with our guys, we've done the work. Like, the practice before regional is not the most important thing going in, right? It's all the work, all the practices we've stacked up to this point of the season. Coach Hilton, my assistant, he came in and really helped our guys focus on the process and what we have to do on a daily basis to get better, slowly. And I think our guys really bought into that this year, and we've seen the growth, not even just from last year to this year, but from our day one practice back in early August to now. So that's been our emphasis. And I've told the guys, even we have kind of an odd practice tonight where we get to warm up and we don't really get to get the swings in that we normally want to get in. And it's looking like maybe more inclement weather later this week, so we don't really know if we'll get to play tomorrow. Hopefully we get to. But it's going to be a little bit irregular, but just trust that we put the work in. You know what you need to do. It's more about fueling your body, getting enough sleep this week, hydrating, and then when it comes to going out there, having the right mentality of how to play against Seymour and focusing on what's right in front of us. How
much for you as a coach, comparing yourself to a former student athlete to now a coach, in just that time frame, how much has it changed? Now there is so much more focus on mentality there's once upon a time where it's all about, being prepared physically and knowing the X's and O's and knowing the execution. How much has that changed? How much have you seen in terms of just the mental side of the game? Whether it could be tennis, it could be basketball, it could be any sport.
Yeah, I think tennis was one thing that I learned so much about mentality that helped me in other sports or helped me in just other facets of life in general, that I didn't really realize I was learning as it was happening. So I feel fortunate. I've always felt like tennis was something that challenged me. I was kind of a hothead as a young athlete, and tennis was the one thing that really challenged me up front. I couldn't blame anybody else for my shortcomings, and it's something that I've seen in many athletes. You learn it, and you don't even realize you're learning a better, more positive mentality as you go, because ultimately you're out there by yourself most of the time, and you have to figure it out. So I think looking back, I knew I learned the lessons through playing a lot of tennis, and it helped me in other areas of my life. But now I just feel like it's talked about more. So guys are more aware of their mentality. But the fact that it's talked about more, I think, also leads to a little more anxiety almost. So the more knowledge there is, the more anxiety going into everything. Mm-hmm. I feel like it was talked about less, so there was a little less anxiety going into you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. Yep.
But now people are more prepared and have more tools. Athletes do anyway, and coaches providing those tools for their athletes. They at least have a little bit more of an idea of like, what do I need to be thinking about? How can I control my emotions? How can I, put away the bad thoughts and focus on the positive thoughts to help me play better? And I think for the most part, our guys have really taken that in stride.
Take a look and kind of tying the mentality thing back into the actual tennis. Tomorrow, hopefully, rain can hold off and you guys are playing. That victory then would lead to a championship match on Wednesday night. Well, if there's a win there, then all of a sudden you just go right into a semi-state on Saturday at Center Grove. The good thing is for you guys, should that be your path, and hopefully it is, you guys have played so many nights back-to-back and had those big, long stretches. Your regular season schedule, the way it's set up, has prepared you to deal with this type of schedule.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, the season flies by. Once you start playing your first match, sectional 6 weeks away. So we ended up playing probably 21 matches in those 6 weeks. And we had a stretch where, last time I was in here, we were talking about coming off that, a ton of matches in the last week. So we're ready for it. Physically, we're ready for it. Mentally, we got to keep doing what we've been doing on a daily basis to be ready for it. And then just do everything we can to put ourselves in a position to have the opportunity to win a match. So that's what we plan to do. That's what we set out to do, It would be amazing to find a way to win a regional. The last time a regional was won by the boys was in 2010. So, we've had some opportunities a few years ago. I know I look back on and I wish maybe a decision here or a point there, it would have turned the tide and we would have won one. But, anytime you have a regional championship within reach, you want to do everything you can to take advantage of that opportunity.
11 regional titles for Batesville in boys tennis program history. Coach Taylor mentioned last one in 2010. As you look toward this team, what about them stands out as the ultimate key that they have, that they possess, that they can go out and win this thing this week?
Yeah, I think they're really confident in their own abilities. I think that experience that we've talked about earlier tonight and earlier a couple weeks ago, last time I was on, is just having that experience allows them to be so much more comfortable once they're out on the court. They're not overthinking what they're doing. They've won a lot of matches. They know how to win matches. They know how to win big points. So I think having that experience, going into this regional, Seymour's a team last year that didn't make the regional. They haven't been to this step. I think we have an advantage because of that, And then Columbus North, most of their experience left last year. They've still got some guys that returned, but we have guys that have been in this position before, and I think that's kind of what holds the edge for us, and we've got to take advantage of that.
All right, again, coming up tomorrow night, hopefully, again, Mother Nature holds off. Regional semifinal, Columbus North, Seymour against Batesville. Coach, will go ahead and let you go for tonight. Safe travels to Columbus tomorrow. Best of luck, and certainly pulling for a big regional title for you and the Bulldogs this week.
Thanks, Rob. I always love coming on, and thanks for having me.
Not a problem. That is head coach Mitchell Taylor, Batesville Boys Tennis. We'll come back with more Coach's Corner after this, delivered by Ison's Family Pizza on Country 103.9 WRBI.
When it comes to you and your family's health, finding a primary care provider you can trust makes all the difference. At Margaret Mary Health, our providers aren't just here for you when you're sick. They're dedicated to being your long-term partners in health. If you're looking for a medical provider to help keep your family well, give us a call or visit us online. Our primary care providers are accepting new patients in Batesville, Brookville, Osgood, and Milan. Margaret Mary Health. Generations of care.
It's back. Our delicious chicken bruschetta pizza is back. Cecil here. I'm interrupting this commercial for some important news. Our operating hours are changing to better serve our customers and to better take care of our team members. We will be closing at 8 p.m. Sunday through Thursday. That's right, our new hours are Sunday through Thursday from 10:30 a.m. to 8 p.m., then Friday and Saturday 10:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. Come let us serve you. LicensedFamilyPizza.com, 812-933-0333, or 117 East George Street, downtown Batesville.
Coach's Corner with Rob LaFerry continues. Watch us live on WRBI-TV.com or on our Facebook page, and hear us live on the WRBI app and 103.9 FM. WRBI.
Rob LaFerry with you inside Ison's Family Pizza. It is Coach's Corner on this Monday night, and a big thank you to Batesville head tennis coach Mitchell Taylor for joining us and talking about Batesville's upcoming trip to the regional. Again, that is tomorrow, a semifinal matchup at Columbus North. They'll be taking on Seymour. It should be a win, hopefully, for Batesville. If so, a regional championship match on Wednesday against either Columbus North or Southwestern Hanover. Let's go back to talking high school football tonight, as we have got North Decatur head football coach Steve Stern joining us. 6-1 overall record last week, coach. 59-14 victory at home against Eastern Green. You know, I always look at Eastern Green as being a team that, yeah, I know they've fallen on some hard times a little bit, but I still go back. It's been just a few years ago. They were a state runner-up. It's still a solid football program, and it's a good win.
It's a good win. Any win's a good win. You're right, though. They're going through a transition, I would say, at this point. Since their state finals run, they switch coaches now. This will be the third one, and I think when you start turning it over that fast, things fall through the cracks. You know, you lose some kids not playing. I look at them on film, and I looked at them Friday night. They're trying to do the right things. Kids lack some experience, and you know, the weight room has been a gap apparently in this transition, but I was proud of our guys to come out and started the game well. One of the things that we did in the game is we started the game no huddle, because that's part of what we're going to need moving down the road. So in order to take a little bit of attention off of the opponent, I wanted to put it back on us so that I could hold their attention this week. And you know, that went well. I thought we were efficient. Defensively played well. We had a couple plays get out the gate, but looking at the overall game, it was a good win. I think we were 18 of our 20 goals. Kicking game shined again, and we want to continue to magnify that the best we can. And again, every week I say this, and I don't know what people think about it, but there's a challenge in every opponent. Maybe it's the style they play. Maybe it's a particular person or a particular scheme. But there's a challenge, and you stack those up over the course of a year, and that's what prepares you for the tournament. So they did some things that we don't see a lot, so we had to practice it, and for that we're better.
Huge first half, 35 points in the second quarter, really put this one away for you guys after a strong outing there in the first frame. But it's another night where Matthew Fields is great at the QB spot. Corbin Thackeray is big at running back. You're able to get some different guys in once again. So, you know, as you are building and preparing for the postseason, that experience for more and more guys just becomes even more crucial.
It does, and it makes practice better. It helps your buy-in. It helps your locker room. You know, Corbin is a captain for a reason. He's as dynamic a player as I've had since I've been at North Decatur. He impacts the game in so many ways. And Matthew's growing up. You know, he's a sophomore, and you forget, you know, you saw him come out last year in certain situations, but now it's his. He's got the keys to the car, and he's learning every week. And I told some people it is it is really enjoyable from a coaching standpoint. His ability to come to the sideline and communicate and have ideas and to have an open communication that you feel like, this kid gets it. He is a super competitor, still a sophomore, learning how to control learning how to control and manage our huddle. And then at the line of scrimmage, his check with me stuff, audibles. I'm proud of him. He's had a good year, and the growth is sky's the limit.
Talking more about Matthew, even going through some box scores to see his passing percentage, the efficiency, he is seeing the field awfully well for a sophomore.
He is, and we've changed some things. We did not play well. He did not play well, certainly statistically in the Milan game. And I felt like we put him in a really tough spot, that things were probably a little more complicated than needed to be. So following that game, you could put your head in the sand and say, hey, you just got to get better, or you help them get better. And I think you see the same thing with the Bengals right now. You can't run the Joe Burrow offense with your backup.
Yep.
With most people can't do it. So you've got to look at his skill set, and it's not that it has nothing to do with his skills, I guess, from a throwing perspective, but you've got to give him 2 routes. You can't give him 5 and expect him to make it through all of them and to be able to manage everything. But he has continued to progress, and since that game, he's been very steady. He's at the 70% completion, which is outstanding at a high school game.
I have been trying to voice that opinion of the Bengals very loudly to my TV the last couple Sundays, and they're still not listening.
I know.
Switching gears, Coach, to defense, you were able to force a couple turnovers on Friday night. Simon Barber with a fumble recovery, and then, I always say this with you, every Monday you're here, there's just another guy that pops up. Henry Kinker comes out and has a big interception too.
Yes. Henry, I would say, he's our nickel safety. He is our third safety in our regular personnel. He's a sophomore. He's a very heady player. He's a competitor, and he's a good athlete. He just right now is behind a couple of really good ones. So trying to blend him on the field where the score let us do that. We got in the nickel a little bit more, so that puts him on the field, and he's got a bright future. And to see him shine, he was actually our defensive player of the week this week. In part for the interception, but in part for the tackles he made, his ability to communicate. Henry makes that sophomore class even better.
Talk about, Coach, you mentioned defensive player of the week for the Chargers, a rundown of those guys who stepped up for you this past Friday.
Yeah, this week Matthew Fields was our offensive player of the week. Henry was our defensive player of the week. Special teams was Logan Odell with – You can't understate the importance of a kid that can kick.
549 last week, I think, on kickoffs.
Yes. 3 or 4 touchbacks in a game. That's pretty awesome. And he's a weapon. So he was our special teams guy. Key hit of the week was Tyler Dean. I think that's number 3 for the year for him. Offensive line was Logan Foster and Esley Atkins. Honorary captain was Matthew Fields, and our scout player of the week was Spencer Summers. So it's a way to reward guys for not just their game night, but leading up to it in practice. And again, I think those things make your locker room stay healthy.
And I'm glad that you brought up, this is not just really a game day thing, because, right. Even me as a coach with middle school kids at basketball, it's, we talk about, you want to practice like this is an actual game. You want to be playing and practicing at the same level. Those kids earn that because they are doing those right things in practice as well.
Correct. And they're all looking at you. I spoke to Evan briefly, and I talked to a coach on the way here from another school and talked about those kids are going to mirror what you do. And when your mouth says one thing, but your actions do another, you tell kids, practice hard, work hard, do the right things, listen to us. And then they do it and they're not rewarded. You kind of lose a lot of credibility. But when you get young guys who have the buy-in, they may not be as talented, may not be as fast, but man, they do everything you ask them to do to the best of their ability. Find a way to get those guys on. And something that we do that I think we've always done it at North Decatur is that when we transition, as the score got away from them last week, we didn't make a giant just dump everybody else in there. You've got probably for us, I'm going to say 7 or 8 guys who are right on the cusp of being a Friday night player full time. So it's nice to be able to blend them in with varsity players. So you've got some ones on the field, but you've got some 1.5s coming out there too. And that's when you really see them. That's when you see them step up their game, and then you transition to your JV team. So I think that's important, and that's exactly how Henry became our Defensive Player of the Week.
Talking North Decatur football with head coach Steve Stern tonight on Coach's Corner. Coming up this Friday night at home against Edinburgh. It's a 1-5 Lancer team, coach, but you brought it up at the beginning talking about how each team brings a unique challenge. I think this is another opportunity for you guys to challenge yourselves, but I'm also going to bring up the fact that, you win this and you're an outright MIFC champion. So you're challenging yourself. At the same time, this is that first chance this season to be in a championship type of clinching setting.
Right. So we talked about it tonight. It's a trophy game. Doesn't really matter who the opponent is. There's a trophy on the line. Learn how to go win them. Be proud of winning them. Be happy to win them. We have to challenge ourselves to stay focused, because if you ask the average person, we should win this game. But it's not just about winning, because it's how you do it. It's how you prepare, because now we're on the doorstep of the tournament. Sectional draw is Sunday. So you don't want to lose momentum this time of year. You don't want to have a hiccup. You don't want to go win a game ugly, even though you still like to win. But, that kills your momentum, and you get that bad taste in your mouth. So that's the focal point this week. It's not what you do, but it's how you do it, and make sure that we have a good week of preparation, and remember the fact it's a trophy game, and that therefore it means more.
71-0. That is what Edinburgh fell by last Friday night to North Central Farmersburg. I like that you bring up, you want to feel good, and yes, sectional is a couple weeks away. But you also want to feel good going into that regular season finale, because Franklin County is going to pose a lot of challenges in that finale.
They are, and just like Linton did, I think those two are very comparable. Styles a little bit different, but there's a lot of similarities too. And there's a reason that we went and did that. We did it on purpose. Franklin County week 9, Linton week 6, because it's all about preparing yourself for the end. I mean, you want to win games, but I stood in the end zone after the Linton game and told the kids that never, ever have we said we want to be undefeated. I think there's more of a disadvantage in being undefeated, because that monkey turns into a gorilla on your back, and then if you're not careful, you start playing not to lose. And that's just a whole separate thing that, that's out of the way. You have a chance with both Franklin County and Linton to stand toe-to-toe with somebody who's as physical as anybody and won a football through the tournament. So let's go see where we're at. Let's go see what does work, what doesn't work, what's our progression been. But it's there to propel us into the tournament.
And I know you had brought up to me at the beginning of the season, and we were talking about some different things, and it's something that has stuck with me. You talk about, being at a bit of a disadvantage, being undefeated. And I still like what you brought up, that, if you're a coach chasing perfection, you're probably setting yourself up for a lot of disappointment.
There's no question, because perfection's out of your control, right? And perfection is pretty subjective. Where are you standing? Like, what school are you at? Like, I just think there's so many things. And anyway, what is perfection? Is it statistical perfection? And I don't know. We talk about doing our best, and our best is relative to the talent we have, right? And sometimes your best can look different week to week because of the opponent you play. I thought we played very, very well at Linton, except for 6 plays. We gave up six 20-yard plays or more, and they hurt us. And absolutely, they count, but half of their yards came that night on those 6 plays. So looking back at it, we won a lot more plays than we lost, but those 6 that we lost certainly had a lot to do with the outcome of the game. Control the variables you can control, keep it in perspective. And the thing we've talked about recently is that you're not what somebody says you are. You are what you do. And it was awesome for our program and our community to say, hey, we're ranked number 1 this week. But inside the locker room, It doesn't make any difference. I reminded them every day, nobody who voted you's been to our practices or games. They haven't. So feel good about it. It's a nice feather in your cap. Doesn't mean anything. If anything, it makes the bullseye bigger. At the end of the day, at the end of the game, you are what you do. You are not what somebody says you are. So you have to go out and perform regardless of who the opponent is or the weather is or anything like that. And that's a big deal for us, and we talk about it often.
And the only number one that matters is at Lucas Oil Stadium late in November. And
Right.
Coach, speaking of that, you mentioned sectional draw coming up. You've got kids to keep their eyes on one Friday at a time. But as a coach preparing, in the back of your mind, you're kind of looking at what's to come. And I think as you take a look at Class A, no matter how the draw shakes up, number one, it's going to be a tough sectional bracket. And then after that, Class A is loaded with some really good football teams.
They are, and I think that's true. Really, there's good football on every level. I think Indiana football is so much parity's not the word necessarily, but there's good teams across the state, and I think Providence is really good. I think Springs Valley is really good, and as a football fan, I'd be curious to see that head-to-head matchup because I think that would be a great game. I think South Putnam is extremely talented. And, in our own sectional, Milan is Milan, and whenever we play, it's going to be close. It's going to be a fist fight. It's not going to be anything pretty about it. It's going to be close. But then you've got looming out there on the on the outskirts is Knightstown out there scoring 45 points a game. They just won a game 61-59, and I don't know how you do that, but I guess you reward your offensive coordinator and you fire your defensive coordinator at the same time. But you're right; it's coming. There's good people that you're going to have to get through, and I've been around it long enough to know to make that long run, you got to have a little luck along the way. Something's got to bounce your way, and you got to stay healthy. And that's probably the biggest challenge in 1A football because of numbers, right? You want to practice hard, but you got to practice smart, and you got to keep them healthy. And your kids are so exposed, like a Corbin Thackeray. People go, he's a two-way player. I said, actually, he's not. He's a four-way player. He's an offense player. He's a defense player. He's a kick team player, and he's a return team player. So a guy like him is constantly being exposed, to contact, and that's just what 1A football is. It's the old school Iron Man football that I think when you get into 5A and 6A, you don't see much anymore.
All right, Coach, we'll go ahead and let you go. Edinburgh is on the docket Friday night. Best of luck, and as always, good chatting with you.
You as well. Thank you.
North Decatur head coach Steve Stern joining us, and when we come back from Coach's Corner, we have got a interview via phone with Franklin County head football coach Wes Gilman. It's Coach's Corner, delivered by Ison's Family Pizza on Country 103.9 WRBI.
You only have one smile. Make yours the best it can be with Batesville Dental. For over 40 years, Batesville Dental's provided the latest technology in their state-of-the-art facility. They strive to make your visit a pleasure. Doctors Broughton, Liedermeyer, and Roberts and their staff offer preventative care, Invisalign, implants, extractions, and cleanings to keep your mouth healthy and your smile beautiful. Batesville Dental, 391 Northside Drive, Batesville. You only have one smile. Make yours the best it can be. Batesville Dental.
More Coach's Corner with Rob LaFerry, courtesy of Ison's Family Pizza. We're on 103.9 FM, streaming on the WRBI app. And you can see the show live on Facebook or WRBI-TV.com.
Welcome back to Coach's Corner, where tonight football is the theme of our show. Joining us via phone is the head coach of the Franklin County Wildcats, Wes Gilman. Franklin County coming in to this week 5-2. That includes a big win this past Friday night over South Dearborn, 28-10. Coach, at one point I looked at your score on Friday night. It looked like a baseball score, but now it resembles a football score after Friday night. That's a really good win against a really sound Knights team.
Yeah, so, going into the week, obviously we've had some injuries. Wyatt Bowlings, we've been out without him, our starting quarterback, for 3 weeks now. He got hurt, I think, on the second play, week 5 against Lawrenceburg. And then we were without probably our one of our better middle linebackers, Brady Bruneman. So we have shuffled some pieces around these last 2-3 weeks. But going into the week and these past couple weeks, especially South Dearborn, we just kept telling our kids, hey, we feel like we're a more physical team than they are. We feel like we're more talented. If you guys execute, limit the penalties, take care of the football, and just play sound football, you're going to win the game. And that's what we did. We're not putting up a ton of points since our quarterback's been out. But our defense has been really solid these past couple weeks, and they've kind of kept us in the game early. You talked about a baseball score. I think it was 14-2 at half. We ended up going up 28-2 kind of late in the game, put some subs in. I think they scored at the end there, made it 28-10. And we're still not executing on all levels, all the time, but we have some things to fix. We had a drop touchdown pass. We had some miscommunication that led to a bad snap and a safety, some penalties still. So we're not playing our best football, but our kids are playing hard, and I'm really proud of them for that. And they are preparing every week, and they've really gotten serious about their preparation because they know what they can accomplish this year, and they just accomplished a big goal in winning the conference. So I'm really proud of our kids.
Using the victory on Friday night, Coach just mentioned it, to capture the small school division of the EIAC. First time in 20 years, Franklin County has been a conference champion inside the EIAC. You talk about your defense wearing South Dearborn down, and as they're wearing them down, your offense is methodical and putting up, 7 points a quarter in that game on Friday. Looking at some highlights for you guys, Coach, Mason Wee, I thought, does a good job navigating at the quarterback spot. He throws for 116 yards, but he also rushes for 140 yards and 1 TD. And then Parker Gilman coming in for 18 carries and 130 and 2 TDs is going to aid quite a bit as well.
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, we've had to shuffle some pieces. Mason is he's our featured running back coming into the year. And then when Wyatt went down, we had to adjust some things and put Mason back there because Mason's a good athlete. He's a good leader. He has a high football IQ, and he can throw the ball a little bit. As you just mentioned, I think we threw for 116 yards. Throws a pretty good ball. Doesn't have a lot of experience reading a defense, but he's just an athlete and a leader. So we're doing what we have to do in the absence of Wyatt. Hopefully we get him back this Friday against Batesville. All signs are pointing to that. He had a high-grade MCL sprain about 3 weeks ago, so he's getting better. He was out there running around this week in practice and cutting. But, yeah, like I said, it's a methodical offense without Wyatt. But you do what you have to do when you lose your quarterback at any level. I don't care if it's the Cincinnati Bengals or third grade youth football. Things change on the offensive side, and give our kids credit. They've taken the game plan in stride and realized, hey, this is our offense right now, and our offensive line, who is very experienced. 4 of our 5 guys on offensive line were starters last year. So they've really kind of enjoyed these last 2 weeks, kind of taken the responsibility of, hey, this is your game. If you guys play really well, we can methodically drive down the field and just kind of take the will of the other team. And I believe that's what happened Friday night.
And I think, you look at your schedule, you mentioned these last 2 weeks, you've got the win against South Dearborn. You go back the week before, you hold on against Greensburg 21-7. And Tom Snape and I found out this past Friday night that Greensburg was much better than what the 0-6 record indicated. But I think what you have to like in that stretch is the fact it's 2 wins and a really good response after you guys have to go through the gauntlet against East Central and Lawrenceburg.
Yeah, I'm disappointed in those 2 weeks. You talk about East Central Lawrenceburg, because really that's where, as a program, we kind of, where are we? And people complain about having to play East Central. I enjoy playing East Central. They probably have, I don't even know how many kids they have. It's well over 1,000, and Franklin County and we have about 580 kids in our building. So we're literally half their size, but I enjoy seeing where we are. And what I saw in week 4 when we played East Central was a team that belonged on the field with them. It's 14-14 at half, and then things kind of, we had a bad break, and then, the blood from our kids' face kind of drained, and they couldn't recover mentally, but we needed that. Then Lawrenceburg, after losing Wyatt on play 2, things just unraveled for us. So we learned from that game. I hope we get another shot at Lawrenceburg in the sectional, but I am proud of our kids these last 2 weeks, especially without your starting quarterback, how they've, we've only given up 17 points, and 7 of those were with our subs in. So really proud of our kids, and we got to finish strong now. We cannot take Batesville lightly. Our kids coming in Monday for film can't say, well, Greensburg beat them. This is going to be an easy week. That's not the case. If you don't show up on any Friday, you're bound to get beat. And, like you said, Greensburg plays hard. They're a much better football team than their record shows. I think Batesville's a better football team than their record shows. So you just have to show up and prepare each week, take each week, one step at a time, and keep growing and developing. And then once we get all of our starters back, I think you'll see a complete football team.
Talking Franklin County football with head coach Wes Gilman, and they've got the Batesville Bulldogs. They'll be at Batesville this Friday night. It's going to be a 7 o'clock kickoff, which we'll have here on WRBI. But you mentioned, Batesville being, better than what their record shows. You guys have navigated some bumps and bruises. Batesville in the same boat. And, I would imagine as an opposing coach, each and every week you take a look at Batesville, it's been different personnel out there. It makes them a little tough to plan for, but at the same time, what you're going to get with an Evan Ulrey coach team.
Yeah, they're going to play hard. They're well coached. They run a 4-3 defense, but you're right. I was watching film yesterday and a little bit today, and I've seen 3 different quarterbacks now. I don't know who's healthy, who's not healthy. We don't have an injury report like they do in the NFL. You hear bits and pieces, but you never really know. And you just, you prepare for what they are as a front. We know they're a 4-3 defense. We can pretty much guess how they're going to align to our formations. We can pretty much understand they're going to go under center in the I formation. They're going to pull their guards and try to run the football for the most part, but do some bootlegs and play action and things of that nature. Our coaching staff has been doing this long enough to where we kind of know Evan Ulrey, but we also know that he's a good coach. So, our kids, it's a simple formula. Our kids prepare, our kids have a good week of practice. They take the game seriously. If we do all those things, I believe we win the game.
And then we take a look at this matchup, and Evan and I have spent the last couple weeks talking about this. A lot of times when we talk about Batesville, we're talking a rivalry with Greensburg, but we both feel like because of the proximity between Batesville and Franklin County, this too always feels like a rivalry game in the regular season. Yeah,
we kind of gone back and forth. I don't know if anybody's kind of really owned the series these past 5-6 years, whatever you might call it. We had a phenomenal senior class last year. They had a phenomenal senior class last year. So those groups kind of battled for the past 2-3 years. We got the better of them in the regular season last year. They got the better of us in the playoffs. Both really close games. Both could have gone either way. Came down to kind of turnovers. So it's always a good matchup. The proximity, nowadays with social media, our kids know their kids. Heck, some of our kids are dating Batesville girls. It's a different world, man, with social media and whatnot. But it's always fun to play Batesville. It's a test for us. This year is going to be no different. Our kids have to do what they can control and like I said, prepare well, play hard, and take the game seriously. Not have a letdown either. After you win a conference, sometimes you got to get kids back to earth and say, hey, this is a game we want to go 6-2. 5-3 ain't gonna cut it. So it should be a fun week.
Coach, final question before we wrap up. The last time you and I had talked was right before the season had started. With your program, with having a senior class gone from a year ago, we knew there would be some question marks. We addressed those. Now that there's only 2 games left in the regular season, are you where you thought you would be at with your program, or has this exceeded some expectations, or just even exceeded maybe some thoughts that you had as the season was getting ready to start back in August?
Probably exceeded a little bit. We lost a lot of talent from last year, and I mean at key positions, a lot of leadership. And I am extremely proud of this group of seniors this year who have really stepped up and become leaders, matured mentally. I can't emphasize that enough, man. I knew going into the year that the talent was there, but can you guys all, get along and be mature enough to be a team and play together? And when things get tough, how are you going to respond? And they've done that. You don't see, name calling and finger pointing and things like that. Even in the Lawrenceburg week when we couldn't catch a break and lost Wyatt, they're still playing hard and doing the things they need to do. So I'm extremely happy with that. We are very thin, though. We've also been very lucky in terms of injuries so far, knock on wood, outside of, losing Wyatt, which is a huge injury, obviously. But other places, offensive line, we've been very lucky. Haven't lost one of them yet, and I hope we don't. So we are very thin, which a lot of schools our size are. So we just got to keep chugging along, man, keep fighting and enjoying the ride that we're kind of on, but also not I don't think anybody in that locker room is satisfied. They want a sectional championship. I want a sectional championship. This community wants one. It's been, longer for a sectional title than it was a conference. You mentioned 20 years. I believe 02 is the exact year. So it's been 23 since a conference. It's been 98 since a sectional. So that's a lot of years. These kids weren't born back then. So it's there for us. We just have to take the steps to get there. So Batesville's another stepping stone. We have to play well to win this game. We have to. This is not something where we show up and the game's over, throw the records out, whatever the case might be. And that's pretty much true for a lot of conference games. So we'll just prepare, do the best we can, try to be the best version of us on Friday.
All right, Coach, we'll go ahead and let you go. I know Tom and I will see you on Friday night for the matchup at Batesville. Again, congratulations on the small school conference title, and we will see you guys out on the field Friday night.
Rob, I appreciate it. Thanks, bud.
Franklin County head coach Wes Gilman joining us as a part of Coach's Corner. Back with more after this from Ison's Family Pizza on Country 103.9 WRBI.
In case you hadn't heard, Scripture Auto in Greensburg is now a part of Whitewater Motors.
If you have an issue down the road, you can call Jamie Scripture or Dave Scripture. Try that at some of the bigger places. It's just customer service. We've been taking care of people for a decade. That's our biggest thing. We treat them like family, always have. Rest assured, Dave Scripture and myself, Jamie Scripture, are still here running the business. So that's the big thing.
Visit them online at whitewatergreensburg.com.
Coach's Corner with Rob LaFerry continues. Watch us live on WRBI-TV.com or on our Facebook page, and hear us live on the WRBI app and 103.9 FM. WRBI.
Welcome back one final time to Coach's Corner on this Monday night, delivered by Ison's Family Pizza. Rob LaFerry in with some final words, and starting out with a big thank you to our four guests this evening, talking football with Batesville head football coach Evan Ulrey, also North Decatur head football coach Steve Stern, and you just heard from Franklin County head football coach Wes Gilman, and also stepping in tonight and bringing him in to give the Bulldog boys tennis program some love, head coach Mitchell Taylor, as they get ready for the regional semifinals tomorrow night at Columbus North. And kind of a real quick update before we say our goodbyes. Last week we had Batesville girls golf in as they prepared for the state finals in Carmel. And congratulations to the Batesville Lady Bulldogs, along with head coach Ben Seifert, assistant coach Ryan Harmeyer. Lady Bulldogs finishing with a 9th place finish out of 16 teams. A very tough and challenging weekend for all involved, not just from Batesville, but all teams and individuals playing. Ava South, she will end up tied for 12th on the individual leaderboard at the state finals. Some very big awards handed out to her, though, after the state finals, including being named the 2025 Indiana Miss Golf, so congratulations to her. And also Rowan Pies from East Central, who competed a very rough Friday, but coming back very strong, a top 20 finish for her, coming along with the 2 days combined. And along with Ava South, Rowan Pies was also named in all-state selections. So nonetheless, a very successful weekend to wrap up the girls' golf season. When it comes to high school football this weekend on WRBI, we've got 2 games for you. 6:40 pregame with a 7 o'clock kickoff. This will be on WRBI-TV along with the WRBI app. We have got Franklin County and Batesville. Tom Snape and I will have the call. Or if you're an East Central fan and want to follow along with the Trojans, we have them on Friday night as well. They will be on the road, a big one for the Trojans as always. They'll be taking on Indianapolis Roncalli. That'll be a 7:10 pregame, a 7:30 kickoff. Rob Moorhead and Jerry Stanger with you. Trojans trying to build off a huge win last week against Connorsville. On behalf of everyone here tonight, we've got Annie Nunley to my left. And, of course, Brent Lee, John Heil, 2 guys who have been back and doing the dirty work for us inside studio all season long on Coach's Corner. And a big thank you, of course, and on behalf of our friends here at Ison's Family Pizza for allowing us to serve up another episode to you. This is Rob LaFerry saying so long. We'll huddle up together next Monday night as a part of Coach's Corner on Country 103.9 WRBI.
Listen Monday nights at 6 for Coach's Corner with Rob LaFerry, live from Ison's Family Pizza. Come check out the show in person or listen on 103.9 FM or the WRBI app. And now you can also watch the show happen live at WRBI-TV.com or on our Facebook page. From Southeastern Indiana's local sports voice, WRBI Batesville, Greensburg, Brookville, Versailles.